Before there was light, before there was time, there existed a name whispered only in the highest regions of the sky, a name that never touched human lips, a name that even the angels spoke with reverence, fear, and absolute adoration. Why was this name hidden from the earth, and what would happen if it were revealed again? This is the story of the most powerful name ever uttered. What is the name of God? The cherubim, with their many wings and blazing eyes, sang hymns that reverberated through the heavens like thunder in perfect harmony. But at the heart of this celestial choir, there was a note that was never played, a sacred vibration carrying the name of the Creator himself. This name was unknown among humans. It was guarded by a secret language, spoken only by beings closest to the Most High. Select angels, whose very essence had been shaped by eternal glory, were the only ones permitted to utter that forbidden word. They did not speak. They reverberated, and when they did, the entire universe responded. Space bent. Time lost its rhythm. Stars silenced their lights. Everything bowed before the power of that name. For that name was more than sound. It was a presence, a living force brimming with absolute power. It did not merely identify God, it was God. It carried the pulse of creation, the memory of Eden, the judgment of nations, and the promise of the end. It was the boundary between the divine and the profane. To utter it without permission was to attempt to contain the sun with one's hands. But not all accepted the mystery, not all bowed. In the celestial silence, where the name was worshipped, the first stirrings of opposition were born. Lucifer was the first. Before any other being breathed, before the universe took form, he heard the full name. Not an ordinary sound, not a trivial word, but the name, the one that contained all authority, power, and glory of the Creator. It was more than language. It was existence. And Lucifer, the most radiant of angels, did not just hear. He understood. Each syllable of the name set his being ablaze with an impossible power to contain. He should have bowed in reverence. But something unexpected happened. Instead of worship, ambition was born. The light that should have rendered honor awakened in Lucifer a lethal desire, to be like the one whose name echoed among the stars. It was not merely envy, it was rebellion. He no longer wanted to sing the name. He wanted to use it, to carry it, to assume his place among the gods, to make it common. And it was there in the heart of heaven that the war began, not with swords, but with intention. Lucifer sought to corrupt the name, to spread it as though it were one among many, to transform the sacred into something accessible, the eternal into something imitable. But God would not allow it. In the face of this threat, he sealed the name with 7 spiritual seals. Each seal was a judgment, an impassable barrier between the profane and the ineffable. With that, Lucifer was cast into darkness, dragging with him those who believed the lie. Since then, anyone who attempts to pronounce the name without purity finds ruin. It is not just a name. Now, it is judgment. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now back to the video. The rebellion did not end with the fall. It spread like a spiritual virus, contaminating eras, peoples, and even priesthoods. Centuries passed, but the question echoed in deserts and mountains. Who would dare try to hear that name again? When Moses asked God, "What is your name?" the answer he received was enigmatic. "I am that I am." It was not a direct revelation, but rather a veil concealing something greater. That statement, shrouded in mystery, was not an identification. It was a barrier. God did not allow himself to be named like the pagan gods. He imposed distance, dominion, and mystery. I am was a limit. Moses would not go beyond that point. But there is something few know. The true name of God was spoken only once, and only by him. In the fire of the burning bush, in a moment that never repeated, God whispered his real name. The entire mountain trembled. Creation responded. The earth quaked, and the sky fell silent. There is no exact record, no preserved pronunciation, only a whisper lost to time and eternity. In the tabernacle, built in the desert by divine command, only the high priest was permitted to approach the Holy of Holies. Once a year, one single day, and even then, he could only pronounce part of that name, with trembling body, with racing heart, with absolute fear. It was a risk, it was a covenant, a sound forbidden to ordinary ears, a sound that could kill. As centuries passed, that name was removed from the scriptures, replaced by titles, Adonai, El Shaddai, Elohim, each powerful, but none were the original, none were the name. The scribes erased it, the rabbis hid it, the people forgot. But there are records, ancient records that were never destroyed. They indicate that the full name still exists. It is kept hidden, not in common letters, but in codes, in patterns, in layers concealed within the Torah. Names, numbers, sequences. The revelation was a whisper, a sound nearly forgotten. But in the spiritual world, that whisper was like thunder. Hell trembled, because those who move in the darkness know this name and fear it. When the apostles confronted unclean spirits, they did not rely on formulas or human words. They invoked the name, not an ordinary name, but the name above all names. A name that shook the foundations of the invisible, that made spiritual realms tremble and silenced the mocking laughter of demons. This name was their only weapon, and when spoken with faith, it became an absolute, unquestionable command. But ancient records reveal something even stranger and more terrifying. In certain exorcisms, incomprehensible and grotesque sounds interrupted the rituals. There were screams, cracklings, and distorted voices, as if something from the abyss were trying to prevent the name from being uttered. It was a desperate attempt to silence the name, to stop its utterance at any cost. The demons did not fear the human presence, but the living word being released with authority. In Acts, 7 men attempted to use that name as a formula. "We cast you out in the name of Jesus, whom Paul preaches." But the spirits mocked, "Jesus I know, Paul I know, but who are you?" And they attacked them with brutal violence, stripping them and leaving them wounded. This scene reveals what happens when the name is invoked without authority. God's name, when invoked with true faith, is not just a word, it is a flaming sword, a force that destroys spiritual fortresses. But there is a solemn warning. To utter this name without reverence, as though it were any amulet, is to play with the fire of God himself. For the name that frees also consumes. It is a devouring fire against those who use it in vain. But what about the end? If the name caused fear among demons, what will happen when it is revealed in its complete form? When it is no longer a secret, but a divine decree over all nations? The prophecies leave no doubt. The name is returning. In the book of Revelation, John witnessed a scene that few would dare to imagine. On the thigh of the Lamb was written a mysterious name, hidden from all men, known only to him. This name was not just a title. It was a key, a celestial code sealed before the foundation of the world. And when it is revealed, it will trigger a succession of events that will change the fate of the earth. The trumpets will sound like never before. The seals will be broken one by one, and judgment will fall like a sword upon the nations. That name, ineffable, eternal, burning like fire, will not just be read, it will be felt. It will separate the faithful from the rebels, the sealed from the condemned. Among all humanity, only 144,000 will carry this name on their foreheads. They will be recognized, not by words, but by the spiritual seal that will shine upon their foreheads, a sign that will distinguish them between the living and the dead. These sealed ones will not suffer the damages of the abyss, nor will they be touched by the plagues that will spread across the world. They will be guardians of a forgotten truth, chosen among the chosen. And when, at last, this name is proclaimed publicly, the heavens will open with an apocalyptic roar. The veil will be torn, kingdoms will fall, empires will crumble, and all that is hidden will be brought to light. Humanity will see with their own eyes the incarnate Word, and they will realize that the same name that once healed and liberated now judges, wounds, and condemns. The name that created universes will be the same that will extinguish the rebellion of the world. The trumpets have ceased, the seals have broken, and just when it seemed that the world was on the verge of understanding the truth, the conspiracy arose. The ancient rabbis had an unwavering conviction. The name of God was so sacred, so absolute, that it could only be spoken within the walls of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Outside of it, it was forbidden, unthinkable. They believed that uttering the name in vain could bring devastating spiritual consequences. Therefore, they created strict rules. The pronunciation was restricted to the priests on specific days, and even among them, there was fear and trembling. The sacred name became a secret guarded with obsessive reverence. With the destruction of the temple in the year 70 AD, this name was no longer spoken. There was no longer a sacred place. Over time, the oral tradition was lost, and the name was concealed. It did not disappear by chance. It was deliberately hidden among scrolls, encrypted in Hebrew numerical systems and Kabbalistic codes. Those who knew it feared being held responsible for its revelation. It was safer to erase it from the collective memory than to risk its profanation. Centuries later, secret societies emerged, dedicated to a single purpose: to decipher the lost name. Mystics, Torah scholars, Kabbalists. These groups began to analyze patterns in Hebrew letters, numerical equations, and poetic structures in the Psalms. With each attempt, new enigmas arose. A simple mistake could lead to madness. Some claimed that as they got closer to the truth, they began to hear voices. Others mysteriously disappeared. Then, in the outskirts of Qumran, among the fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls, a different scroll was found. It was not catalogued. Hidden inside a side cave, protected by a layer of petrified mud, this document contained what appeared to be the 4 original syllables of the name of God. But with them, a warning: whoever hears it shall die. Whoever understands it shall be transformed. Even hidden, the name never ceased to exist. In each generation, someone drew too close. In each century, someone disappeared amid manuscripts and secret codes. But when everything seems lost, when the earth is restored and the heavens descend, then it will be sung once again. In the New Jerusalem, a sacred moment will mark the beginning of eternity. Angels and redeemed men will gather to sing a hymn that will echo through the celestial spheres. This hymn will not be like any other. It will begin with a single sound, the restored name, the one that had been forgotten, erased, profaned through the ages. Each syllable of that name will be accompanied by thunder that will shake the foundations of the new creation, lightning that will illuminate the eternal skies, and trumpets that will proclaim in unison that glory has been restored. With the sound of that name, all that was corrupted will vanish. Every evil, every shadow, every trace of pain will be annihilated instantly. The name will become light, not merely a source of illumination, but the very essence of the light that emanates from the divine throne at the center of the new earth. Wherever that name is sung, there will be no more tears, no memory of suffering, no darkness will remain before its vibration, for the redeemed will proclaim it without ceasing, sustained by an unbreakable joy. That word, that sacred name, will be the foundation of eternity, not just remembered, but lived. It will contain life, strength, and glory in every sound. But before eternity, there will be judgment. Before the song of the redeemed, there will be the silence of the condemned. For the same name that will restore creation will decide destinies, and there will be no escape. Before the white throne of God, there will be no excuses, disguises, or deceptions. Every human being will be confronted with the absolute truth, their relationship with the name that sustains eternity. It will not be isolated deeds that are judged, but the response each person gave to the name that has been proclaimed since the beginning. In that moment, all hearts will be exposed. There will be no words sufficient to justify indifference. Those who mocked, rejected, or simply ignored the name will be separated, not by vengeance, but because they chose to live apart from the presence of the one who is light, justice, and life. For them, the separation will be eternal, a definitive silence that will never be broken. However, for those who, even in the midst of pain, doubt, or chaos, invoked that name with sincerity, a completely different destiny awaits them. They will not only be saved, they will be received as children, heirs to the promise, embraced by God Himself. For the name is not just a word, it is salvation, it is identity, it is restoration. Those who recognized it will live the fullness of the existence they were always meant to have. Then, at the peak of judgment, it will be the very mouth of God that will utter the name. A sound that had never been heard in this way, so pure, so strong, so definitive, that it will not only shake the heavens and the earth, it will redefine reality itself. In that moment, everything that was will be reordered. The past, the present, and the future will bow before that voice. The name will be heard once more, and when it is, it will be like an explosion of truth. Every particle of the universe will respond. No creature will remain indifferent. Because when the name is spoken by the one who has always existed, every knee will bow, not out of obligation, but because the truth will be undeniable. If you enjoyed this content and want to continue exploring hidden mysteries and stories from the Bible, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us bring more videos like this one and reach more people interested in the Bible. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the upcoming content, and share this video with friends who might enjoy it. See you in the next one.